Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Well, it's now time to review newspaper headlines, and of course, we start with this day, Nigeria's newspaper of record. The top story today says, we are watching INEC closely. That's Kwankwaso, and APC will hold its national convention March 2026. According to Kwankwaso, the performance of INEC is critical to the survival of democracy in Nigeria, and it says the party, that's the New Nigeria People's Party, NNPP, would keep a close watch on INEC ahead of the 2027 general election. You know, Steve, I guess this is timely at a point when a lot of Nigerians and analysts are a bit worried the rate of defection to the APC amidst concerns that probably Nigeria might be drifting into a one-party state.
I mean, this is what you expect from opposition figures, to say, and as we will see in the next, story on the appropriation bill that the president presented on Friday. It is the duty of the opposition, even when the ruling party seems to be controlling a good chunk of the state governors. As at the last count, I think the APC should be around 28 governors now, leaving the rest for PDP, 3 governors, and then other parties. So even when they are being depleted, it is their duty to speak to power, speak to different levels of the government, particularly INEC too, so that, the argument has always been...
Then I'm actually wondering, how well has that really motivated INEC in the past, knowing that all eyes are on them? Has it in any way really significantly boosted their performance in conducting elections?
Who or what is INEC? It's an institution, and then it has a new leadership now, in Professor Amukwiton. Maybe if the opposition key figures develop the attitude of at least setting agenda, and insisting that INEC and other, agencies, EFCC, ICPC, CBN, listen to them, deal with policies, deal with issues, not attacking individuals and just opposing or criticizing just for the sake of it, but set agenda and draw attention to, because government will always make mistakes. Institutions will always, drop the ball at one point or the other. The media will do the needful, will do what is required of them. But then in most cases, what the media does is to trumpet the informed views, particularly of the opposition and those who are not in government. Because what will government functionaries say other than to, to promote their government? So I like the fact that, Kwankwaso is saying that we are watching INEC closely. But don't just watch, also speak out when it's necessary, particularly now, before they start saying, this is when, because we've seen, for example, what INEC, the National Assembly is proposing, increasing the money for campaign, from 5 billion to 10 billion for president, etc. Things like that is part of what the opposition, should also, and just like the media, should speak about. Is it realistic, for example, at this point in time? So when Kwankwaso says, we're watching, don't just watch, also speak out, But of course, the fact that APC is also holding national convention in March of 2036 is significant. If it is part of what they're saying, part of the reason I listened to the SDP, the former SDP presidential candidate in the 2023 election, saying that I think they got a judgment against INEC. Part of what they would need to be saying to INEC clearly is that INEC should not take the powers of the political parties of them, so that internal democracy is not affected. If everything has to be, ticked off by INEC, maybe those are the areas that we should, clearly look at. So with the convention coming, it therefore means that part of what people are saying is that, yes, APC today might claim to have 28 state governors. In other words, 28 states in their kitty. But how many of those states were won through the ballots rather than defections?
That's the big question.
Absolutely.
That's the big question.
Absolutely.
Well, and still talking about the opposition, we have the story above the headline. Tinubu's 2026 appropriation bill signals fiscal drift, says PDP will be alleges forgery. Like you said, it's the role of the opposition to criticize, and I guess they are doing that so well. But, the guest we had earlier, he seemed to be a bit optimistic, about the 2026. Okay, well, that's the 2026 budget.
Which of them?
You know.
Otobajiboye or
No,
Dr. Muda
definitely
Yusuf?
I'm talking about Dr. Muda Yusuf.
Well, I mean, I am too, in some ways. You know, I think that it looks to me like the 2026 budget would be a lot better than the two previous ones that this president has presented. It is 2025 and it's 2024. I also like the fact, as we pointed out earlier, that the president was emphatic about the fact that by the end of March of next year, he will see a discontinuation of the old practice, the very wrong and dangerous practice of having multiple and overlapping budgets. And the mere fact that he acknowledged that this is bad and he spoke clearly to it is reassuring for me. It's a different thing if he will walk his talk and keep to the deadline that he has set for himself. But it's also important to remind him, which is why this story is quite important. Not just to say that the things that you have promised, will you be able to keep them? But to also raise alarm where it is necessary. I read this story. PDP spoke at length as to why they're not very enthusiastic about this budget. And it is easy to chronicle a bit of all the negativities that the president has acknowledged himself.
They said that the budget, represents the institutionalization of suffering under the guise of macroeconomic statistics.
Well, I mean, that's the opposition majoring on the negative. The president and his team naturally will choose on looking at the bright side and which ones will work in favor of the people. But what is important, though, is the allegation by Mr. Peter Obi, the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, who is also a key figure in the opposition, using the keyword forgery. And it is important for people to understand the context. It's not talking about the budget per se, but it's talking about the fact that the federal government, and particularly the president, has not said anything to the allegation of forgery, which can be interpreted to be forgery as it concerns the tax law that has now been gazetted, by the federal government. If you recall, last week it was a big story. A member of the House of Representatives stood up, in plenary to say that what the federal government has gazetted, and he bought a copy himself. I think one or two newspapers led with that story during the week, that what the federal government has gazetted is not quite what the two houses passed. Wow. And he made, references to many sections of the tax laws that they were passed. And what Mr. Obi therefore said is that, what are you talking about budget of renewed resilience and consolidation and shared prosperity, when the plank upon which, just like Dr. Yusuf alluded to, the plank upon which you hope to augment your revenue drive is being accused of being forged. And that's not something that you should look away from.
Can't be swept.
So Obi and the opposition are saying that if there are issues with the gazetted law, tax laws of the country, then you can confidently say to Nigerians that you will meet your target. In any case, first address that allegation. Who dropped the ball? Who added what was not in the law that was passed into the tax laws?
But I think Taiwo Oyedele has been trying to play that down, saying that there's nothing of such.
It is not Taiwo Oyedele's job, because Taiwo Oyedele did his job and then passed it to the federal government, which now submitted it, as a bill to the National Assembly. National Assembly went through it one by one, removed what they didn't want, added or modified certain things for it to become law, and they passed it. So they are saying that what they passed is what Taiwo Oyedele should defend. What he should therefore now explain is how come there are variations between what was passed and what was gazetted. That is the forgery, allegedly, that Mr. Peter Obi is referring to. And this is something that has to be discussed.
It has to be discussed,
frankly
definitely.
Speaking.
Well, just one more story on this day. To ensure seamless use of foreign cards, CBN directs banks to configure ATMs, POS terminals, which is good if it's well implemented.
Absolutely.
Hopefully we'll be able to users of foreign issued payment cards would be able to use it on ATMs.
Oh, yes.
And hopefully all this will be done in 2026 if it is, if it will be implemented.
It is the sort of a thing that we would like to hear from the Central Bank of Nigeria, given the fact that in the past, the things that Nigerians used to hear were very disheartening. The amount of money that you're able to withdraw from your bank account, even from the bank, that is changing. The CBN under Mr. Dr. Cardoso is tweaking a lot of things that will assist the reforms that are being recorded, in the economy. And I think that the use of foreign cards, the directive to banks, is in line, is in tandem with what is proposing, so that Nigerians can be, if it is your money, you should be allowed to spend it. If you have a domiciliary account, it is your money. Don't threaten people that it might be converted to Naira, or that you may not even have access to it, or that you may suddenly find out that your money has been loaned out, from pension scheme, to the federal government. Those are the things that I believe that this CBN seems to be correcting, and we should applaud when we see that they're on the right track and on the right direction. So for me, this is something that, yes, like you said, it will be about implementation. So 2026, on the whole, does not look bad. I mean, it looks like it will be appreciably better than the year that is concluding now, and more importantly, that 2024. In any case, there are indications, just like President pointed out when he presented the budget, that the economy grew better than what we had in 2024. But let's work towards 2026 being far better, so that Nigerians can now truly, begin to feel that the economy has turned the curve and that Nigerians are enjoying. I think there's one more important story that we should consider on the cover of this day, which is on the strip. That story is on page 8. CAN calls for decisive measures against insecurity in northern states. It is important to continue to highlight that, because CAN, of course, was at the center of of all the noise regarding genocide or no genocide, and the fact that many people are being killed, particularly those who identify as Christians in some parts of the northern Nigeria. So it is important that this call, is dealt with by the authorities, so that we do not enter 2026 with the fear of Trump, on our neck, with the fear that, okay, maybe we have not done enough. But let's listen to CAN. Let's listen to every stakeholder, that is saying that that things should be done better and that insecurity should be tackled. The cover story is also important, and I'll tell you why. The president left Abuja earlier yesterday and then touched, I believe, in 3 states. In Borno, where he had very good things to say about the president there. And this is what this picture is about: delivering democracy dividend, showing the Minister of Agriculture and Food Security, Abubakar Kyari, the Deputy Senate President, Speaker of the House of Reps, the President himself, and of course, Babagana Zulum, the Governor of Borno State. The President touched in 2 other states and then landed in Lagos last night. But of course, at the time that people are talking about the horrendous traffic. Yeah. So
I mean, we should brace. Lagosians should brace themselves.
One way or the other, because when the president wants to go out, that it will impact, traffic. But of course, the president has all the rights to spend his time. He's a Lagos boy. He has returned to base. He wants to enjoy Christmas at home. The little impact here and there that people will feel, at least be aware.
But we hope there will be some consideration, for other road users too.
If it is well managed, and it should be well managed, there should be instruction, of course, from the president's team that yes, I'm not just going to sit down at home in Lagos. I also want to touch a few places on Friday. Maybe you want to go to the mosque, and things like that. But the important thing is to manage the traffic situation. What people went through, particularly this last Friday, and most of the week, and I was in in one or two of the traffic myself. No, it was something close to hell, and that's not what you want to encourage.
Well,
Okay,
so,
should we go to, do we have
This Day Style?
the This Day Style?
Yes, and our star girl, or shall I say our star girl this week, is Yemi Adamolekun. When enough is enough.
Is this repeated? I thought that was last Sunday.
Well, I'm saying December 21st, and I know that's today's date, yes.
Okay.
So Yemi Adamolekun, when enough is enough. She's a Nigerian activist. She's the executive director of Enough is Enough. That's a civil society organization that advocates for better governance in Nigeria. She's also a senior advocate at the Center for Strategic and International Studies, and she participates in political discussions, and she was awarded a Global Citizen Prize in 2022. So we have a young, beautiful female, as our style girl today.
That's a double for Yemi Adamolekun, because she was also on cover, last Sunday. So, congratulations. We did congratulate her. Congratulations to her. That's the Enough is Enough lady, looking wonderful. She has done quite a lot for our country, and we do celebrate her. There are interesting stories in a few other papers. There's a Sunday Sun, there's a Sunday Punch, there's a Sunday Vanguard, there's the Sunday Telegraph. I don't know if we have the cover of the Telegraph so that we can pull it off for the viewers. The lead story on the cover of Sunday Telegraph is an interview with Senator Inaya Abaribe. And it says why National Assembly can't confront executive on constitutional violations. Why the National Assembly can't confront the executive. And it says questions Nnamdi Kanu's life imprisonment. You're back to, that question again. And then governors, local government chairmen negotiate with bandits, terrorists. That's Senator Inaya Abaribe, who has been speaking, quite often lately.
Definitely.
Addressing a number of issues of importance in our national polity. I believe that will be an important interview to read if readers have a copy of the Sunday Telegraph, either physically or online. But of course, they also touch on the question of insecurity. And they said security agencies don't maximize intels. That's according to experts. It's a long story for those who might want to read it, extending from page 6 to 10 and 23 of today's Sunday Telegraph. Agencies' poor capacity renders reports useless. That's according to Ejiofor. And asymmetric warfare complicated, says General Adeosun.
And that reminds me, I know that the Senate said they were going to probe the school abductions, I think the one that happened in Niger State.
Yes.
Because apparently they got intelligence, that the terrorists were coming, and, it still happened.
Yeah.
But we haven't had any...
Those are the areas that many analysts...
It seems we don't follow up, on all those stories.
Exactly.
That's
Which
part of the
speaks
problem.
to the point of not just having abducted school children in particular, returned, because there are so many sort of, interesting languages that we hear. Is either that they are rescued or that they have been returned or that we have secured their release, funny things. And then people keep asking, what happens to the abductors? What happened to the kidnappers? Because it's a criminal offense. The only way that you can stem absolutely is to prevent. If you do not arrest, execute, or even, the other one, deal with the kidnappers, it means that we're only waiting for the next time when when they'll come back for more. The point, therefore, is that we must follow up, as you said, so that we do not, willy-nilly encourage the ransom business, the ransom economy that is growing by the day in our country. If people are not profiting from that nonsense that they are doing, maybe it will have reduced drastically. And the reason why people will not profit from it is for government to go after the perpetrators. We must do a lot more in that regard. Any other major story on the cover of Sunday Telegraph? I think we can go to the Punch. Is it Punch?
Okay, so let's go to the Sunday Punch. And their headline news is alleged alterations. We've talked about this a lot. Presidency cakes as Atiku Obi fight tax laws. Says no going back on January 1 implementation. That's the presidency. And Atiku believes alterations dangerous for our democracy. You know, you talked about some issues that just cannot be swept under the carpet.
Yeah.
But it seems the presidency is determined to go ahead, no matter whose ox is gored.
Well, I mean, that's what it looks like as far as the tax law is concerned. But, you know, it's a law, you know, and if the government has to proceed, they should proceed. But of course, if the preponderance of opinion is that, let's be careful. We may not be seeking to kill a bill that has just been passed, but then maybe let's tread carefully and slowly, particularly going into a year when candidates, it will be a politically charged, you know, year. You are going into a year that the candidates of all the political parties will emerge preparatory to the 2027 elections. And therefore, how the general public views a policy that may directly or indirectly impact on their pocket, you know, it will say a lot about how they react to that government. We have not had people talk so much, apart from Omoyele Sowore, about protests and things like that. Don't let us get to a situation where, you know, in January, people certainly, like Vanguard is asking, 11 days to tax reform. Will my bank account be blocked?
Definitely.
From January 1st, 2026, if I don't have a TIN, number, and they have given 25 facts about the new tax regime. Giving facts on the pages of newspaper is different from what people will encounter if they are confronted with things that will shock, you know, their financial realities. It can lead to a bit of agitation, which I'm sure that the president, at this point that we are tackling insecurity, may want to be careful about.
Well, another story on the front page of the Sunday Punch is PDP Wike Makinde forces adamant despite INEC's intervention. You know, like one analyst says, it seems these two gentlemen are fighting over the carcass of the PDP.
It's a carcass, isn't it? I mean,
I've been quoting an analyst. Don't quote me.
The way that you know, PDP is you know, plummeting. I mean, it's something like we said yesterday. You know, Hawan and I. It's something that will be of interesting research subject. You know, for those in the political science space, you know, to find out, you know, from the projected biggest party in Africa.
That vowed to rule for 60 years.
For 60 years,
you know?
And all of a sudden you are left with 3 governors. Even at that, you are not sure whether one will not capitulate. Along the line, at the end of the day, you are left with Oyo, with Zamfara, with Bauchi. I mean, it's an interesting development. And it looks to me like, at the end of the day, it looks like if Wike's brief was to ensure that PDP does not breathe.
Oh, he vowed to destroy the party from within, and he has stayed true to his word.
You know, he would have done, he would have scored an A mark, you know, wouldn't he, for what he has done so far. And it's a crime shame, isn't it, that a major political party that ought to be the fulcrum of the opposition will simply crash land and scatter, you know, just like that. What can Seyi Makinde do? I saw an interesting cartoon the other time, you know, showing Seyi Makinde, the governor of Oyo State, who's like the arrowhead of the PDP now, sitting down all alone, about to start the meeting of PDP governors in the South. But of course, he's the only one remaining. I mean, isn't that interesting? But for me, what is happening to the PDP, as bad as it might be, shouldn't just be the fault that we, you know, point accusing fingers towards the president, because I keep on saying it. There was a time in this country that the PDP as the ruling party, particularly in 2007, when Obasanjo was leaving.
I say it all the time that what is happening now is simply the APC adopting the playbook of the PDP. That's exactly what is happening.
What the PDP
they are
guys,
reinventing the wheel.
What the PDP guys have not adopted, however, is the style of the man who is now the president and who is now asking everybody to come on board. when he was the Lone Ranger in AC in 2023, when Obasanjo swept 5 of the governors in the Southwest. And then the entire, by 2007, the entire Southern Nigeria was all PDP. The only party was his own party, AC, and he was the only governor. That's why they were calling him Okolomo. And interestingly, his son, Asheyi, Ojueko, as people will call him, is now being decorated as the Okolomo of Yoruba land by Alaafin of Oyo. So when he was the Okolomo, the Lone Ranger in the southern part of Nigeria, AC, among all the other PDP governors, how come he was not bulldozed? How come he was not bamboozled, by the powerful forces of the federal? How come he was not seen, as many of the governors that are now defecting to the PDP
so I guess
are saying, listen
to
to this very carefully, are saying that, we need to align with the federal so that we can bring dividends of democracy to our people. Tinubu never said that.
He never said that, which is why I guess at the end of the day is due to your own ideology and personal values, which I think is what is lacking in a number of these political parties, and even with the, should I say, even with the governors or with the members themselves. It's about selfish interests. What can they gain? How will it benefit them? They're not really thinking about what service or what value they're actually offering to the people.
And there's no courage to develop the opposition quality. The same type of quality that both late President Muhammadu Buhari developed, kept on running. At a point, he shed tears that, I will stop running. I'm done with this country. Until Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu went to him to say, no, stop crying. He said it in Abeokuta during the Minoko. Stop crying. This is not about shedding tears. We will regroup and then we will go for it one more time. And they won. The same sort of values and opposition, courage that Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu had when he was in the opposition. How come we don't have that? Okay, maybe we can say...
Well, maybe that's what Makinde is trying to do right now.
That Seyi Makinde or the governor of Bauchi or the governor of Zamfara. But of course, time will tell. So we'll see this sort of politics, what they are able to make of that. But, I have my doubts, but let's see how things
I guess we'll have to wait and see. It's been very interesting reviewing, newspaper headlines.
Absolutely. Do we have more time?
No, we do not have more time.
Oh, we do not?
We do not have more time.
All right. Okay, so